I came to Milan expecting beauty. What I found instead was precision, a city that doesn't ask to be seen, but to be understood, one still moment at a time. Milan does not hurry, nor does it seek attention. It carries itself with a discipline so subtle that you begin to lose track of hours. Every corner, every muted reflection, every deliberate gesture feels arranged with intention, as if the city is conscious of its own pulse. Even the breeze seems measured, guiding movement through invisible lines. Here, elegance is not displayed, it is embodied, shaped by care, constancy, and an unspoken belief that purpose should never raise its voice. Morning emerges as a quiet refrain. Light drifts across the Duomo's ribs with the gentleness of a practiced hand, sliding over carved stone, touching release as though confirming their existence. Shutters rise with patient rhythm. Soft footfalls scatter across the pavements. The hiss of espresso begins its morning liturgy, steam rising like a whispered offering. Milan does not wake, it composes. Every gesture lands precisely where it belongs. Every sound folds seamlessly into the slow architecture of dawn. At first glance, the city appears reserved, folded into itself. But wait, stay, and its layers begin to unfold. Milan communicates through sensation. The smooth spine of leather in a shop window, the faint warmth held by a wall from yesterday's sun, the whisper of fabric brushing against quiet air. It speaks in tempo, heels tapping with certainty, trams humming along threads of memory, cups touching saucers in gentle unison. Milan never aims to impress, it arranges. Patience reveals the logic binding every part together. Shadows stitched to movement, scents woven through space, all crafted with steady precision. Its beauty is restrained. In some cities, beauty arrives unannounced, bold, eager for applause. Here, it rests in the unfinished spaces, the pauses between steps, the curve of quiet facades, the subtle balance between contrast and calm. The Milanese do not chase attention. They refine what remains after excess has been removed. You see it in the angle of a collar, in a posture held with poise, in the way sunlight glides across wool. Nothing shouts, nothing begs. Here, understatement becomes fluency. Enter deeper into Brera, and the city's rhythm acquires weight. Buildings softened by centuries lean gently toward one another, carrying their age with grace rather than burden. Ivy climbs the walls like a muted dialogue with history. From open windows, painters tilt their faces toward the light, mixing color with the air itself. Every contour, brick, shadow, frame, seems considered. Milan survives on proportion. Dissonance exists, but it never overwhelms. A chipped stair, a weathered door frame, a patina on brass. These are kept deliberately, held as quiet signatures of endurance. The city receives time as a craftsman receives repetition, not as erosion, but refinement. Step into a cafe and the philosophy becomes tangible. Espresso descends in deliberate streams. Cups align themselves with grammatical precision. Steam curls upward in disciplined spirals. Even the smallest actions, stirring sugar, adjusting a chair, folding a napkin, feels ceremonial. Time elongates, making room for intention. Milan insists that beauty is not surface, it is devotion, transforming the ordinary into ritual. Each movement is measured, each gesture matters. Elegance is not an exterior, it is a habit. And beneath all this restraint, warmth lives quietly. The city offers small, sincere acknowledgments, a nod at a crosswalk, a fleeting smile exchanged between strangers, the soft tether of conversation drifting out of doorways. Laughter appears in fragments, never loud, never urgent. Passion is not absent, it is precise. Milan teaches that emotion does not require display, that depth can move softly and still shape the air around it. Behind quiet doors, creation hums. Tailors lean over cloth with the concentration of monks. A single stitch becomes a vow to precision. Designers sketch with restraint, granting each line an intention it must justify. Creativity here does not erupt, it distills. Milan does not chase the future, it edits it. It clarifies it. Here, subtraction becomes expression. Every object, every movement, every glance is shaped by intention's weight. Along Via Monte Napoleone, even the atmosphere feels curated. Windows gleam without spectacle. Fashion houses stand like sanctuaries of proportion, polished but modest. People move with an ease that is nonetheless deliberate. Gesture becomes identity. Awareness becomes allure. The city does not dress to be seen. It embodies a coherence that renders adornment unnecessary. Every detail aligns: the fold of fabric, the fall of shadow, the shimmer of stone touched by the sun. Nothing is improvised. By midday, light scatters across Milan like gold dust, brushing marble, glass, and pavement. Trams glide without hesitation, their rhythms steady and practiced. The external world seems to quiet itself at the city's edge. A slower pulse takes hold, and your own breath unconsciously follows. Steps align, shoulders settle. Milan teaches presence without instruction, discipline without command. In ateliers, hidden behind narrow alleys, artisans work with reverence. Leather softens beneath practiced hands. Silk is shaped by intuition, guided by years. A shoemaker bends over his craft, guided not by haste, but lineage. A designer pauses before drawing the next line, letting stillness speak. In Milan, empty space is not lack, it is precision waiting to be activated. Silence becomes part of the composition. Every hesitation contributes. Creation is not output, it is dialogue. Even imperfections maintain order. Uneven stones, softened frescoes, shadows lingering in alleyways. These are not flaws, but signatures of persistence. Milan teaches that beauty is not flawless, it is contextual, intentional, aware. You learn to move in that same measured cadence, letting the city's rhythm shape your own awareness. Spires lift with restraint. Towers reflect without dominance. Renaissance stone converses with contemporary glass, each structure mindful of the one beside it. The city unfolds like cloth fitted by a master hand, patiently, proportionately, without compromising the integrity of its thread. Time layers itself into harmony.
The streets at night teach patience, Cobblestones glisten under soft illumination, footprints marking history without erasing it. Conversations float in measured tones, laughter drifts like a melody, and even the sounds of trams feel orchestrated. Time is extended, not hurried. Milan invites you to slow, to breathe, to notice. You become part of its rhythm, aligning your own pace with the cadence of streets, the sway of trees, the angles of architecture. Awareness becomes your companion. Everywhere you look, the principles of the city are visible in action. Tailors bend over leather, their hands steady, eyes precise. Designers trace lines on paper with minimal yet decisive strokes. Baristas move in subtle choreography, cups and steam rising in harmony with the city's flow. In Milan, devotion is not a word. It is the air you breathe, the steps you take, the way objects, people, and buildings exist together. Every detail carries purpose. Every gesture, however small, holds meaning. Beauty here is not spectacle, it is discipline.
The human presence beneath the precision reveals the city's heart. Strangers nod, smile, and share moments that are fleeting but deeply felt. Affection is subtle, carried in posture, gaze, and gesture. Passion exists quietly, without fanfare, without needing to prove itself. Milan teaches that real emotion does not require volume. It inhabits spaces with exactness, filling gaps with resonance rather than noise. The city shows that grace is less about display and more about knowing how to inhabit the world fully, deliberately, elegantly. Further down, a designer steps outside his studio, sketchbook under arm. His clothes are simple, his gestures exact, his eyes tracing the lines of passing architecture. He looks not at things, but through them, seeing proportion, pattern, intention. I realize this is what Milan teaches, that beauty isn't the product of effort, but the residue of clarity. To live here is to edit yourself continuously, to remove the unnecessary until only precision
In the courtyard of the Palazzo Marino, I pause. Light filters through the arches like music through lace. A man sits by the fountain, reading, unmoving, except for the slow turning of pages. Water drips rhythmically, echoing the faint hum of traffic outside. The entire scene feels orchestrated, not by control, but by awareness. Milan doesn't dictate how to live, it demonstrates it through patience, proportion, and repetition. Lunch is an event only in its serenity. At a small trattoria near Corso Venezia, I sit beneath an awning of striped canvas. The waiter moves like a conductor, each plate placed with symmetry. A couple beside me speaks in low tones, their words almost lost to the murmur of the city. There's a comfort in their quiet, not distance, but understanding. Milan's language is not built on volume. It's built on timing.
The food arrives, risotto the color of sunlight, bread that cracks softly at touch. Even here, precision reigns. Every flavor feels composed, balanced between richness and restraint. Nothing overwhelms. Milan's cuisine, like its architecture, believes that simplicity is not lack, but mastery, the art of knowing when to stop. I eat slowly, matching my rhythm to the city's, and by the time I finish, I realize I've forgotten what haste feels like. For a moment, I stop at an intersection. Cars glide by, cyclists cross, a tram rings softly in the distance, yet nothing collides. The choreography continues, silent, seamless, sacred. Milan doesn't rush forward, it moves precisely forward. And as I take my next step, I feel myself fall perfectly into time with it. I walk toward the heart of Brera again,
where narrow streets curl like sentences written centuries ago. Painters lean out from studio windows, their voices low, their laughter dissolving into the hum of trams. The smell of turpentine mingles with that of espresso and leather, forming a kind of living perfume, the scent of intention. Nothing here feels new, yet nothing feels old. Milan exists in that impossible middle ground, the moment between creation and completion. The sun begins to tilt, touching rooftops with fire. Afternoon folds itself neatly into evening, as if the city were adjusting its color before the next act. I rise from the bench, my pace slower now, my thoughts quieter. Milan doesn't just move through time, it measures it, and in its precision, I find something like peace.